Okay, good morning. Again, I'm Engineer Ernesto C. Prudenciado Jr. and I'm going to discuss today sum of static application. Now, ano po ang ibig sabihin ng sum of static application? Ito ay application ng mga previously discussed natin na topic like tachoplanar, non-concurrent at saka concurrent forces. It is very important to discuss this because lumalabas din ito sa board exam. For example, friction. Marami ito sa board exam. So, problem number 1. A 400 kN block is resisting on a rough horizontal surface for which the coefficient of friction is 0.40. Determine the force P required to cause motion to impede if applied to the block. Number 1, horizontally. Number 2, downward at 30 degrees with the horizontal. And number 3 is the minimum force required to start motion. Okay, to solve for the requirement number 1, yung P po natin ay horizontal siya sa plane. Okay? Or parallel siya sa plane. Okay? Because our plane is horizontal. Tingnan nyo lang sa drawing. So, ang given natin is yung weight, which is 400. Okay? Weight is 400 kilonewton. At saka yung coefficient of friction natin is mu, no? Paki-recall sa mechanics, this is 0.4. Okay? To solve for number 1, so, summation of forces horizontal equals to 0. So, P, no, equals F. Okay? F is the only force that will resist P if we move the block towards the direction of B. Okay? So, P is equals to, what is F? Alam natin na ang F or this coefficient or force friction is equals to mu times N. Okay, please recall in mechanics. So we have mu, this is 0.4, and N is equals to, ang ibig sabihin ng N is the net force or the normal force that is forces na perpendicular siya sa surface natin. And this time around, wala namang ibang force na perpendicular sa surface natin, yun lang yung weight, which is equals to 400. So, 0.4 times 400, it is 40 kilonewton. So, ito na po yung sagot sa number 1. Okay? So, number 2 tayo. Downward at 30 degrees with horizontal. So, yung P daw natin is the downward natin siya. Ito na yung direction. And this theta is 30 degrees. Okay? So, ano daw yung magiging P niya? Okay? Now, to solve for that, summation of forces, summation of forces vertical equals to 0. Okay? So, ano nga yung N natin? N is the net force ng lahat ng forces perpendicular to our surface. Okay? So, N is equals to, first is 400 plus, kasi magpareho yung direction ng P at saka ng weight niya, downward. So, but ano yung P? It is the vertical component natin kasi yung P natin is angled na. So, vertical component of P is P sine of 30. Okay? So, meron na tayong N in terms of P. Okay? So, summation of forces horizontal equals to 0. Okay? So, tingnan lang natin, F is equals to, ano nga yung horizontal component ng P? Ay P cosine of 30. So, yan lang yung magkakabangga. Okay? So, alam natin na ang F is equals to mu times N. Okay? So, mu times N is equals to P cosine of 30. Okay? But mu is given 0.4. N natin is sa taas 400 plus P sine of 30 degrees equals P cosine of 30 degrees. So we can solve P. Again, P is 240.23 kilonewton. Yun yung answer sa number 2. Okay? So to solve for number 3, i-delete ko lang yung solution kasi wala tayong space. So to solve for number 3, minimum force required to start motion. So ito yung solution natin. Now, pag minove natin yung block, mayroon talaga tayo dito tinatawag na reaction. Ito talaga yung reaction niya. Ito talaga yung nagka-counteract ng forces, lahat ng forces natin. So, itong F at saka N is just components of that force, which is R. So, let's denote this as R. Okay? So, ano yung minimum P na required para ma-move natin yung block? Okay? So, ang sekreto niyan, ang minimum natin na P ay kung walang contribution na magre-resist sa P natin, kung walang contribution si R. So, para maging walang contribution si R, let's draw this perpendicular to R. Okay? So, P natin, ito yung direction ng P, which is hindi pa natin alam. Perpendicular siya sa R. Okay? This is 90 degrees. Okay? But we know this line, this is N. So, we can now solve this P. Okay? Pero hindi siya madali kasi hindi pa natin alam yung N at saka hindi pa natin alam yung angle dito. Okay? So, this is R. Okay? So, first, let's solve the angle. So, if we know the angle, we can say the tangent of that angle, theta, is equals to P over R. Okay? But we know that tangent of theta is mu, also equals to mu. Just recall in our mechanics, P over R. Okay? So, again, susulat muna natin dito. Tangent of theta is equals to mu. Okay? But we know that mu is equals to 0.40. We can solve the theta, which is equals to 21.8 degrees. Okay? Sine of theta, which is may angle na tayo, is equals to P over N. Okay? So, but summation of forces, vertical equals to 0, N is equals to 400, okay, minus kasi yung P natin is pataas, but we don't know the angle yet. No na pala kasi alam na natin na 21.8. So, P sine of 21.8, okay. So, we now have N in terms of P, so we can substitute sine of 21.8 is equals to P over 400 minus P sine of 28.8 degrees. So we can solve P by our calculator. We can solve P is equals to 130.54 54 kilonewton. Okay, yun yung answer. Okay, thank you.